We've got the two Parkies in a pod with us tonight, Kuhan and Dave. We're going to be hearing lots more from them. And I can see lots of you joining. So I think without further ado, we'll move through our webinar. We're going to be hearing lots more, and the main act tonight is our Kuhan and Dave. But before we start with that, we'll just start with an acknowledgement of country. Over to you, Michelle.
Great. Okay, a few technical difficulties on my end, but thank you for starting off. I'm going to do an acknowledgement for country. So we acknowledge the Palawa Pakana of Lutruwina, the traditional owners of the land on which we live and work, and we pay respects to elders past and present as the knowledge holders and sharers, and we honour their strong culture and knowledge as vital to the self-determination, well-being and resilience of their communities. And we stand for a future that profoundly respects and acknowledges Aboriginal perspectives, culture, language and history.
Thank you, Michelle. So if you didn't already know, you're going to get four of us tonight. So you've got Michelle and myself, and we're from the Tasmania Parkinson's Project. And then, as I mentioned, we're joined by the wonderful two Parkies in a pod, Dave and Kuhan. Now, we're going to get a proper intro from Dave and Kuhan a bit like in about 5 minutes, but shall we have a quick wave and a quick hello? We'll start with you, Kuhan.
Hi, everyone. Great to be here. Looking forward to this session.
Thank you. And Dave?
I bought my special shirt for you today. It's a turtle shirt, so I'm looking forward to this. Really excited.
Well, we're honoured you put your very special shirt on, Dave. That's wonderful. And just to remind everyone, we love your questions. We love your comments and ideas. So let's keep this really interactive. If you look at the bottom of your screen, or it might be on the top of your screen for some of you, there's a Q&A little button, and just type in whatever you like, but not too rude. Later in the webinar, Michelle and I will be putting these questions to Dave and Kuhan. So if you've got a burning question, now is your opportunity to type it in. So before we do that, I'm just going to give you a very quick update on what we've been up to in the Tasmania Parkinson's Project. And the answer is quite a lot. So we started this project about 2 years ago, and amazingly, over 4,000 people have joined in the last 2 years. We do have a magic number of 5,000, so please spread the word. We would love more people to join. And as you can see, people from all over Australia have joined, which is absolutely wonderful. And what do you get if you join? You get more webinars like this tonight. We give out newsletters. We tell you about research opportunities that are coming up. You can join advisory groups. So if you've not already joined, please do. If you want to know a bit more before you join, we've got a really nice website, the Tasmania Parkinson's Project website. So just feel free to have a little click through that. There's some nice pictures of Tasmania there, as well as some information on the sorts of things that we are doing. So I've just mentioned webinars. Amazingly, Michelle, I didn't realise we have now done 20 webinars in 24 months. So
oh, that's amazing. We're babies, though, compared to the two Parkies in a pod.
Yes, I'm sure we're an inspiration for them. We've also got part of the website telling you about exciting news and updates that are coming through. Many of you will remember Michelle's tremendous grant that she's got for the Parkinson's Net project. So if you want to know more about that, have a look at the website. We've also got some other research projects on there. This is one about using AI or artificial intelligence to ideally detect Parkinson's a bit earlier and a bit more accurately. So if you're interested in research, have a look. And we're also work really closely with Parkinson's Tasmania and other advocacy groups. If you want something really practical to join your local support group, have a look on the website to find out more about that. Now, this was a big thing that happened last week, wasn't it? Many of you will have realised that we didn't have a national Parkinson's action plan, which means that we hadn't really set the benchmark of what good care looks like across Australia. But all of that has changed now. You can see Michelle and I, we got our best dresses on and we went up to Canberra, and we were part of a Tasmanian group that's presented here on the photo on the left, as well as a much broader national group where we presented this at Parliament House. So it was a really wonderful day. There were lots of people with Parkinson's there. Don't know if you've got any thoughts to add to that, Michelle, but we're hoping it'll be quite transformative, don't we?
Absolutely.
If you do want to know more about that, on the right side of the screen is a little shot, like a little screenshot from the National Parkinson's Alliance website. So have a look at that if you're interested. So it's not just Tassie we're working at that national level, and this is the international level. So the Parkinson's Massive Open Online, or MOOC, is an online interactive education course. We've got the lovely Kuhan in that as well, and people from all over the world. And it's really about learning more about Parkinson's, and particularly how to live well with Parkinson's. So if you've not already done the MOOC, have a look, just pop it into Google, search bar, and you'll find the Parkinson's MOOC. It's now open all the time. For a while last year, it was only open for a few months, but you can access it at any point. So I'm sure you do want to sign up for one of our research projects. And this is just to say there's plenty going on. I've mentioned a few already. But if you sign up to the Tasmania Parkinson's Project, these opportunities will automatically pop up for you. And we've got all sorts. We've got something called Tas Test, or Tasmanian Test, which is a computer test you can do at home. Do some finger tapping and the computer will measure the speed of that. We're looking for your blood. This is part of the Michael J. Fox Foundation funded project, where we're really pleased that little old Tassie is going to be part of this really big global consortium. And what we're trying to do here is learn more about the genetics of Parkinson's. So we're looking for 500 people with Parkinson's or atypical Parkinsonism. That's things like PSP and MSA. And there'll be more about that in the next few months. And then the last thing, I've already mentioned the brain project, but we're looking for 50 people to come down to Hobart. And the good thing about this one is that if you take part, we give you results back on the day for things like cognition and movement. So almost the end of my part before the main act. This is just to say that you've heard about our 20 webinars in 24 months. We're keeping that momentum up. In fact, I think we're accelerating, aren't we, Michelle? We're actually getting more than one in a month. So just next week, is it? Or within 8 days, there's going to be an in-person seminar. So come down to Hobart. And meet other people, and this is to raise awareness for the World Parkinson's Day. If it's a bit far to travel down to Hobart, there's also the option to register online. And as you can see here, we've got another webinar coming up with the wonderful Professor David Blacker, who's a neurologist living with Parkinson's and a published author. So he's coming up in May. I'm sure we will fit 2 more in June and July, but we just wanted to let you know about another one in August. Professor Daniel Bonte-Cross from the USA is going to be telling us all about exercise, and particularly high intensity exercise. So what's not to like? It's all happening. Just a reminder, we are looking for more people. You don't have to have Parkinson's to join the project. Any adult living in Australia is really welcome and encouraged to join. Have a look at the website. Okay, I'm going to stop there. And this is just to remind you, if Kuhan and Dave say something that grabs your attention, or you think, gosh, that's something I'd really like to ask about, you don't need to wait to the end. Add your questions in as we're going along. And I think that is the best way to get your questions in, because there'll be quite a few tonight. So now it's over to Kuhan and Dave, the 2 Parkies in a pod. And I've been told that they'd like to introduce themselves. So we'll leave it to you to do that. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thanks, Jane. Thanks, Michelle. Hopefully, you can see the screen where we've got the topic life, laughter, and Parkinson's. Great. Yeah, so I'm Kuhan Pushparanam, person living with Parkinson's, as is Dave Clark. And maybe we'll start with you, Dave. And your favourite quote. Oh, the quote's not here, but if you could just tell us, Dave, about when you were diagnosed, what you're doing before diagnosis and since,
Everybody
maybe?
remembers. Everybody remembers the time and date we were diagnosed. Earlier. This is my
Mm.
time and date, 1947 or 26th of January 2011 in Wimbledon, and I was a TV presenter at the time, and doing sports on TV, and someone mentioned a Lego hand to me. They said, "What's going on with your hand? Lego hand, like this." When I was on air, and I noticed a bit of a pain in my shoulder. My arm wasn't swinging when I walked past the shop, and I thought, "This is a nightmare. What's going on?" And I found
Mm.
out. I went to physio first, and they said it could be it's not physiological, it's neurological. My doctor said I said to the doctor, I think it's Parkinson's because my father had Parkinson's, and she said no, it's not Parkinson's. It's no daft, it's not Parkinson's. Went to the neurologist, got Parkinson's. Damn. So I decided from then on I was going to do everything opposite to what my dad did. Didn't end well for my dad. He was a salesman in
Mm.
Bradford in Yorkshire, and he ended up taking his own life because of Parkinson's, which was really tragic. And he kept it all to himself. He stayed in a room by himself. He wouldn't eat meals with us. He'd go out and drive his car and sell paint all day, and then come back and he'd be tired and wouldn't talk to us and stuff. So I thought I've got to be open and honest about this and to chat to people. So that's how my sort of story starts. A bit sad, but make the best of it.
Yeah, it's quite an inspiring story. And one of the people that you spoke to, Dave, after a few years was me actually. I'm slightly behind
Unfortunately,
ahead
yeah.
of, unfortunately, yeah. So ahead or behind Dave. I was diagnosed 2013 now. So 13 years. I was diagnosed like Dave, I was diagnosed at fairly early age. I was 38 and you were 44, right, Dave, when you were
44,
diagnosed?
yeah. The
Yeah,
kids are
so
7 and 4 at the time, which is a bit frightening.
yeah, so shock to the system, right? And but we were both young onset, and we were both somewhat disconnected from the community, I'd say, in the early years until we came together. Sounds quite romantic, doesn't it? And people often ask, "How did you guys get together?" I thought I'd just show you
I
how we
can't
got
believe you kept the
together.
text.
I know. It
Oh,
means so
romantic
much to
devil.
me, Dave. Memories, right? I reached out to Dave through social media, as you can see here, sent him a message quite innocently saying, let's get together. We have a few things in common. Let's go for a beer, talk about sports and whatnot. And of course, the other thing is Parkinson's. And the way I describe it is, or the way that Dave describes it, he says that I stalked him. The way I describe it is a bit more like internet dating, and I've told this story a few times before, but it's probably worth telling again. I reached out to Dave, and I knew who Dave was from the telly, of course, and I knew I worked out that he was living in the same area of London, southwest London, as me. And I knew we had a few things in common, sports and whatnot. And he seemed like a nice guy, at least from at least from what I saw then. And I reached out to him rather sort of nervously, said, "Let's go for a beer." And I say nervously because I remember the sort of the day itself on our first date, and I was getting ready at home. I was getting dressed, doing my hair, and Helen, my partner, was looking at me thinking, "What are you doing? You're not going on a date. And I was like, "Well, I just kind of feel a little bit like that, actually." Now, bear in mind, this was sort of almost 10 years into my Parkinson's, and I hadn't met many other Parkies at this point. So it was a big deal for me. And I went to meet him in the local pub at the bottom of the road. We live very close to each other, which is very handy, actually. I do feel for people that aren't located near another parky, and we'll come on talk about community and connection in a minute. But very fortunately, we live very close to each other. So walked down the road, went to the pub, and we met, had a great time, spoke, hours of chat. Some of it about Parkinson's, not all, and I think that's quite important. And I, went home alone, I should add, and I felt quite pleased with myself, I'd say. And by this time, Helen, my partner, initially I think she was a bit jealous. She wasn't sure what was going on here, but sort of she knew it was quite important to me. And when I got home, I remember she was waiting at the door to see, sort of nervously, like a nervous parent, see how it went. She was like, how was it? How was it? I was like, yeah, I think it went well. I think he likes me. It was like that. And later on that evening, he sent me a message saying, "Oh, what a top night! We should do it again." And I was like, "Yeah!" I said, "He does like me. He does like me," and it was great. And yeah, that was the story of how we got together. The podcast was born shortly afterwards, and it was just a continuation of that pub chat. I'm just going to
Chat
stop
in the pub,
sharing.
yeah.
Exactly. And 4 years ago, exactly, Dave, we released our first episode. Can you believe that?
Amazing, amazing. 60 episodes in now. It's been incredible. Really amazing. We're really proud of what we've achieved. Really.
I remember once you said, I remember once, Dave, you said it was, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you said of all the things you've done in your career, and if you're not familiar with Dave's career, he was on telly, he was on the radio before, live sports, live radio, boxing, dance, and whatnot. He was a real household name and done a lot of things. But you said once that the podcast was something
I
along the
said,
lines of the. Go on, Dave.
I've got more satisfaction in that than in my broadcasting career, really, because the feedback we get is incredible. People say amazing things. People live by themselves with Parkinson's, and they send a message say, I don't know what to do without you guys. You saved my life and things like that. Just humbling. So I've done a lot of sport and a lot of traveling around the world and stuff, and all the things I've done. I think the podcast, I'm more proud of that than anything else.
It's very nice, very nice. And we've had your very own Jane on the podcast a couple of times now, including a recent episode. And it's the first time we're meeting Michelle today. So it's really nice to meet you, Michelle. Michelle, I hear you're a bit of a super fan of the podcast. Is that right?
I may be a little bit of a fan, and I may have been a little bit starstruck tonight. So I'm very excited, although I am surrounded by, a few different accents and feeling like the only Australian in the room. Although we do know that Jane has done her citizenship test recently, so we're very excited about that down here.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, this is indeed true. I had to revise a 40-page document, but what I don't know about Australia probably is not worth knowing now. Most of my Australian friends do not know the answers to the questions. That's all I'm going to say. But let's not digress. We've already had some fan comments coming in for Kuhan and Dave from Dawn saying, "Love Dave and Kuhan. They are so engaging." I notice she doesn't say she loves us too, Michelle. So we've got that.
I'm sure she
does. A bit of work to do, Jane.
Never
Don't
mind.
go without saying.
The dizzy heights.
The competition, right?
Now we have a few interview questions for Kuhan and Dave, don't we?
Excellent. Before you start with the interview questions, we've got a couple of questions for you guys, if you don't mind.
What?
Can I do that?
Right.
It's more sort of directed at, both of you really, but particularly Michelle, because I heard that you've listened to every episode of the podcast.
I have, and
so I'm going to test your knowledge.
Oh no!
You tell us what your favourite is. Go on.
Well, I did really enjoy the one where you interviewed the neurosurgeon, but I have to say my absolute favourite would have to be the meds one.
Jane, yeah.
You're very own Jane.
I didn't even
That's
pay
very diplomatic. I wondered, Michelle and Jane, if I can test your knowledge, but if I read out a few quotes from previous episodes, do you think you're able to sort of name the episode or? Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it goes. Here's the first one. Hopefully you'll get this one. I want my patients to take back a bit of control back. Do you know who said that?
Would it be someone on this call?
It would be indeed. Yes, that's right. Not Dave, but Jane.
She's a good neurologist. Yeah, I heard.
She is.
Is
that
AI
episode
listening to us?
No, not AI, but. That episode went down really well, Jade. Really positive reaction to that episode. People felt a lot more empowered as well, which was great. Here's the next one. I'm going to make Parkinson's my bitch. Excuse the language. Sorry, I should have forewarned.
We know a certain Canadian.
Exactly, Barbara.
Yeah.
Barbara Salzberg Matthews. She's
mime
a mime
artist.
artist, right, Dave?
Artist, yeah, brilliant woman. Just so much good for the cause. She's a dancer as
Yeah.
well. You see posters on things online, videos online, just dancing away. Always a little smile on her face. Fantastic woman.
Yeah.
And if
And she
only
took
we'd
us
been able to play the video. I feel like because we can't play the video, you guys need to give us a little demonstration.
of the facial exercises. Come on,
You said
let's.
you've got to exercise your face every morning, so go
Yeah.
do exercise. Fully go that way, that one.
The one that sticks in my mind
Wait your
is like
face
you're
up.
biting on a lemon, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's a video of us. We'll leave a link where Barbara took us through some facial exercises, and they really do work. And we were just having a lot of fun on that episode. I'm just gonna do a couple more. This is these quotes are getting a little bit more tough now. I'd rather be off than dyskinetic. Who said that?
Oh,
I can see your face is blank. I'll tell you, Matt Eagles.
okay.
Parkinson for
Yeah,
50
I mean,
years,
Yeah,
incredible
yeah.
guy. Yeah.
50 years,
Amazing.
diagnosed at the age of 7, right? I took a lot
Incredible.
of. I mean, that episode. Well, they all have a lot of meaning, but his speaking from that many years' experience really hit home.
It's
There are
worth saying at
two.
this point, there's a big back catalogue of podcasts. You know, we've got 60
Yeah.
episodes. Every single one of them is worth listening to. You know, if you go back to the beginning, you pick any one. They're all timeless. So we
Timeless,
made sure everyone's timeless. So till we find a cure, till James sorts us out,
Till we-
gets a cure.
Yeah, no pressure, Jane.
From the beginner's guide, the first one we ever did, all the way through to the neurosurgeon, all that. There's a lot of good material there. So don't just think because you missed the latest episode, it's time to you're out of date. Just go back and have a look, listen to the old ones.
Well, do you know, we're already getting comments. So Sheena, who we know well and has been on our webinar, is saying she's got some catching up to do because she's not.
Wow.
In fact, she said she's not listened to any of your podcasts, but she's now going
Oh no!
binge
No,
listen.
you've got a new fan. That's amazing.
Yeah, so you're going to be getting lots of extra listens on
Excellent.
Spotify, aren't you?
Yeah, we're everywhere. Two Parkies in the Pod on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We do a few silly videos on YouTube, and but just reach out to us, or you can just email us as well if you want to contact us directly. hello@twoparkiesinapod.com. I'm going into podcast mode here, but I'm just going to do a couple more quotes because these are some of my favourites. Who would be the first person you told? Is a quote from an episode featuring somebody from your part of the world, actually. Not too far from you guys.
I don't know. I'm
a
stumped.
quote by
I
a young
can
lady
say that.
called.
Star.
Go on, Dave. Go on.
Star. It was amazing because this woman called Star came over and she's got pink one gene, and she'd never left New Zealand before, and she came over and she said, I'm only in London for 24 hours, so I want to meet you two in the 24 hours. So we met her in a pub. Amazing woman. She hadn't even told her mother's got Parkinson's as well because of the pink one gene, and she hadn't told her mum she was coming over. So she told the mum via the podcast, I think, did she, Kuhan?
She did, yeah. She was being a naughty daughter in a way. She was trying to protect her mother, understandably, and she gave this wonderful talk at the National Institute of Neurology here in London. So the who's who of Parkinson's world was there.
I listened to that. Amazing.
Yeah, amazing, right?
Yeah.
Her words really resonate. But we took, and with her permission, we took her speech, and Helen, my partner, read it out at the beginning of one of the episodes. And it was so moving. The reaction we had to that was amazing. I can still remember her words, and we've stayed in touch ever since. She's since told her mother now that she has Parkinson's, and which was a big step because I know for first-hand experience, sort of keeping the burden of keeping the diagnosis secret, as I did for many, many years. And you, Dave, right? You were still doing live TV, and you weren't telling people you had Parkinson's, right? That's something.
2.5 years I was presenting live TV with Parkinson's, didn't tell anybody. Yeah, and then I managed to carry on doing it for 10 years, which I'm very proud of. But it was tough at times. It's tough. There's one time when I was trying to get my cufflinks on. I was doing a boxing show, World Championship fight in Glasgow, and I was trying to get my cufflinks on, do my tie up, and I could feel the shakes coming off. I thought, no, this is a nightmare. And I was hiding behind the scenes. I had radio talk back on, so the thing in your ear where you hear the producer and they go, Parky, where are you? Where are you? I was in a cupboard trying to do my tie-up and things. And I sat down, did the top of the show. I nailed it, thankfully. But the end of the night, I was absolutely knackered. Went home, and my wife said, "This is ridiculous. You just got to tell people because you can't carry on like this." I was doing boxing, darts, bit of Sky Sports News at the time, so I was working pretty much every hour that God sent, and I couldn't have time for my family. So eventually, I told them and cut back a bit of work and adaptation rather than abandonment. I always say, and I managed to do 10 years of presenting the darts, which I was very proud of. So yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop there with the quotes from the previous episode. I think you get the message. There's lots of good stuff.
I was going to say,
quiz. You've given up on us, Kuhan.
Yeah, 50%.
No, I want to save time for your questions for us. So why don't we do that?
Yeah, we'll move on to the questions, but I have to say we have a lot of comments and interaction tonight, and you're quite famous for chatting about poo, it seems. The episode where you talked about that had people just doubled over laughing, and Dawn has said a must watch if you want to lift your mood. And I have to say I've watched it twice, and your giggle, Kuhan, is infectious. You can't not laugh.
Well, people do say they tend to laugh at our podcast. I didn't realise they meant literally laugh at us rather than our humour. But we are a bit silly, and we do try to tackle some everyday topics. And as you guys know, things like pooing, peeing, and a whole host of other symptoms aren't really obvious and are really embarrassing. And we try to talk about that as much as we can. And we would like to have you on a future episode, Jane, talking about all things to do with bowel movements and peas and poos, exactly, because we do joke, but we do with a purpose, because it is, as Dave will tell you now, he's trying to get his gut health in order. Having good gut health particularly is really important for absorption of medication, right, Dave?
Yeah, I've started using this thing called Simprove, which is like all gut bacteria in it, and it's really worked for me. I'm going every day now, which I wasn't before. So yeah, it's impressive. So,
and has it really helped with the medications working better? Because I've heard that.
I think so. Yeah. There's a gut bacteria as well, isn't there, that eats levodopa quite. I can't remember what it's called now, but I've been tested for that as well, so should find out the result of that soon. So, but yeah, it's really worked. It's great.
Now we're gonna be strict with you, Kuhan and Dave, because you've gone really off piste here. But before we move on to the questions, Sheena wants to know what was or is Kuhan's profession. We've heard about Dave being
I should say So I had an office job, so nothing like live TV. This is all new to me, to be honest with you. I was in the telecoms world as a product manager, so developing products and services for consumer and business markets around in the UK and around the world. So that was very exciting. And I did that until 8 years after my diagnosis. So I kept going for that long. And I always say to people, I was forced to give up because of my Parkinson's, not because, say, something like my tremor, but because of fatigue. And fatigue is a subject we keep circling back to on the podcast because it affects so many. And it is, again, one of those hidden symptoms that can really be quite debilitating. And for me, that was the reason, the trigger for me to stop work. Fortunately, I was in a position to do that, and so was Dave, to take that early forced retirement, as it were. We do understand that, appreciate that not everybody's in that situation, but since then I've been set free, and coinciding with my symptoms getting worse as well, COVID time and everything, I was able then to sort of immerse myself in the Parkinson's community, because up until that point I was very much hiding away. So that's me, my career.
We become masters of disguise, haven't we? Sitting on our hands and stuff, and holding your hand so it didn't shake. And
I'm still doing it now, Dave. Actually, I've got the camera here, because if it was any lower, you start to see the shakes, which are starting to come on. But it is what it is. I'm less embarrassed about it now. I don't know about you, Dave,
Yeah,
but
exactly. Yeah,
it's
parking
part
proud.
Well,
exactly.
that is a nice segue into the first formal question, because we've
Mm.
we're kind of now about 40 minutes in and we've not asked any of the questions we planned. So here we go. I'll skip forward
They'll
a little.
have to come back, Jane. This will just be the one of
We will.
many.
This could be part one. I like that,
Yeah.
Michelle. All right. So here we go. To the both of you, but one of you can answer if you prefer. What was the original spark behind starting Two Parkies in a Pod, and how has it evolved since?
It was that pub chat, wasn't it? We were in the pub chatting about Parkinson's, and we thought, actually, this is quite good. Other people should share in this. So that initial pub chat, we met in the Regent pub in Balham, in southwest London, and had a couple of pints. And the pints were going down well, and the chat was getting good. So we thought, yeah, make a podcast out of this. And I'd already done the podcast about darts and stuff, so I had the equipment. So we tried it out in my kitchen, which I'm in now. We recorded in my kitchen. And that first episode, Beginner's Guide to Parkinson, came out, and we thought, this is good. We'll carry on.
Mm. I mean, that's the most listened to episode still, and the most commented on episode, because it really does resonate. It was a kind of, sort of dummies guide for Parkinson's, and yeah, I had the name in my head, Two Parkies in a Pod. Then we came up with some logos, and maybe at some point I'll share the ones that didn't sort of make it in the end. But the name, the theme, the concept was just born very naturally. It has changed. It's got a lot tougher. We were one take wonders back then, but unfortunately, things like our Parkinson's has caught up on us, and it does affect the episodes that we do. So, for example, often we'll do some retakes. There's a lot of stuttering and stammering that goes on. There's a lot of ers and ums and issues with speech that goes on, or cognition that really affects us, and planning. So we try to make it sort of look fairly effortless, but there's a lot of effort that goes into getting it to that point. But really, ultimately, what makes a podcast is you guys and the community. There's some amazing people, both from the healthcare world, but also from the community itself: partners, carers, mums and dads, sons and daughters, brothers, sisters, and we've been very fortunate and privileged to be able to share those stories. Yeah.
What we found with podcasts is we've got a lot of good people on our side, whether it be friends and family, or or neurologists, or physios, whatever. There's a lot of people fighting our corner, so that's good to know if you're a Parky. Right across the world, not just in England.
It's very heartwarming, isn't it?
Yeah, really heartwarming. Incredible people.
And it's great. I mean, I love how you also have, people with Parkinson's doing amazing things. So you really finish off on that nice positive part at the end too, which is great.
Now, Michelle,
I'm going to
ask you on wellness.
Yeah, well, no, I'm going to get in there with a question, but of course my computer closed down, and so it's all gone wrong. So I love that we're going off script, because I'm just going to go for one question.
Go for it.
That I can actually remember. So in terms of your favourite podcast, do you have a favourite episode? And if there was just one thing that you'd like people to know from your podcast, what would it be?
Go on, Dave.
Apart from Jane's episode, of course.
So for me, I've got three that come to mind. One was an episode that we did with a Canadian broadcaster called Harry Forrestal, and he interviewed Michael J. Fox. But really, why he came to our attention, well, firstly, Dave connected with him because they had a common background, right? Both on TV, both doing live TV, actually, similar sort of age, really nice guy. And where he came to sort of our attention and somewhat the world's attention was his 13-year-old daughter wrote an essay for her school project about her dad's Parkinson's. And at the time, he hadn't come out with his condition. So this essay went viral, and that was the way he was effectively outed. And it's a beautiful letter, short letter, written in a very poetic way from a 13-year-old. And you read it back, wow, it's really very moving. So that was one episode. Second episode was the one that we talked about with Matt Eagles, because I learned a lot there. And the third one was the follow-up, Jane, to the episode we did with the brain surgeon, who was the part of the surgical team for my operation last year, my deep brain stimulation procedure that I had last year. And I just used that as an opportunity to sort of quiz him, basically what's going to happen. I had lots of questions, and we just made an episode of that. We sat with him for 2 hours. Really nice guy, lives around the corner from us, and he spent a lot of time answering our questions. But the follow-up episode, really, for me, I mean, they're all very personal, but DBS Diaries, where me and Helen took microphones with us into the hospital. So before, during, and after my procedure, the moment of switching on as well, the moment I went under, the moment the units were turned on, my reaction, the surgeons, the nurses, the whole hospital experience has provided a lot of comfort but provided lovely memories for us. Made a great episode, but was also given comfort to others that are going down the same road. We had a really nice note off the back of that, didn't we, Dave? Those episodes, the DBS episodes from the surgeon himself.
Harry Akram, who's the neurosurgeon, that's one of my favourites as well, because he had an amazing story, amazing backstory. He went to medical school age 16, Harry, and he used to practice his fine motor skills by circuit boards from bombs that dropped on Iran, where he was, Iraq, sorry, where
Iraq.
he was, and then
Yeah.
Iraq. And he rebuilt the circuit boards of these bombs, and that's how he learned how to do all the fine motor skills. And he said he was wheeling a patient into holding a patient's hand, wheeling him into surgery. He said, "Are you nervous?" He said, "This guy said, no, I listened to the podcast with you on, and you answered all the questions. It's great." So that was a beautiful moment, him acknowledging what we'd done. Another of my favourites is Lucy's story, which was a woman who got in touch with us who basically did a DNA test. Wanted to do a DNA test, and she found out a family weren't as it seemed. It was a sperm donor, and she went on this DNA test. I won't tell the whole story because I don't want to ruin it if you listen to it. But she basically tracked her dad down, because he was on the one of these history DNA tests, and it's the story of that. The story goes on and on. We keep hearing back from her. She's discovered half brothers and all this all over the world. One that stood out to me was a walk in the park as well. We went to Battersea Park in London. Kuhan and I went walking with all these people that
charity walk.
A charity walk for Parkinson's UK, and there were 300 people there, and everyone had a different story. Everyone's got a great Parkinson's story to tell. Some sad, some joyful, and there's a memory wall. And anybody who had a Parkinson's story could clip these little memories on like a washing line. You just looked along, and the great stories. This is my granddad who did this and did that, and another, just amazing people doing amazing things. There's all these people walking, and we met this guy called Jeff who loved the podcast. And he was a bit starstruck when he met us. He was a great talker, and he introduced us to his wife and his child, and everything. And just beautiful. This it's just a force for good, incredible. So that's one of my favourites.
Well, I have to say, I'm really disappointed you didn't put either of my podcasts in your top.
Well, I mean, that went without saying. That went without saying.
I think we'll just end the webinar. But no, this webinar has been told, is being called about living well. So let's talk a little bit about that. What does it really mean, this living well with Parkinson's? Because obviously it can mean different things to different people. Are you able to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I think living well does mean different things for different people. A lot of it, for me, starts with acceptance of the condition. It took a very long time to get to that point for me. And it is I liken it to a grief cycle, if you're familiar with the traditional grief cycle, where it normally refers to when you've lost somebody, a close person to you. But, we haven't lost somebody, but we've lost something in terms of our health. And we go through, the classic phases of anger, denial, and some sort of disillusionment, and ultimately some sort of acceptance. And it was only really until I got to that point and started getting more involved in the community, like I said, it took me the best part of a decade to get to that point, that did I feel like, I started to take control, starting to, as you said in your episode with us, Jane, taking back a bit of control, because best will in the world, we don't ordinarily get much time with professionals like you guys, right? Most of the time we're having to fend for ourselves. So I'm a big believer in self-care, taking control. I'm a big believer in exercise. I can see the immediate benefit of exercise, Michelle, both when I do the exercise, but also I can feel it long term. I really do believe that. And I'm fortunate, we're fortunate, we're like-minded in that way. And me and Dave have our regular friendly game of tennis to help us. And that really, really does help me.
We encourage each other, don't we? If one says, I don't fancy it today, everyone goes, yes, you do. Get on that court, see you in an hour, all that. Motivate each other.
Because, when you're living with this condition every day, fatigue, apathy, and all the rest of it, motor and non-motor, visible and non-visible, it's a real slog sometimes, and it's very difficult to do by yourself. I always consider myself to be quite independent, but sometimes it's okay just to put your hand up or let somebody else take your hand and ask for help. And that took me a long time. It wasn't in my DNA to do that. And I hid my condition for many years, but yeah, reaching out. I think living quite close to each other with Dave as well really helps, and finding a community really does help. I'm just going to preempt another one of your potential questions as well. I would also say, though, meeting a bunch of Parkies doesn't always work for everybody, does it, Dave? Because we had a very similar experience at the beginning. Do you just recount that story?
We both went to a young onset group.
This is way before we knew each other.
Yeah.
Went to the same group.
Yeah. And I found it a bit depressing, people further down the line. I wasn't ready for it. It was too soon for me. You've got to know when the time is right to do that. And it really did my head in a bit. I was worried about it for weeks afterwards, and it didn't work for me. So just see, I like to surround myself with positive people. There were some pretty negative people there, and it was just tough. Not their fault, but it was really hard. It was really hard. I just wasn't ready for it. So, you're the same way, Kuhan.
I was the same. It was the same group, actually. Nothing, like I said, nothing against the group itself, but I like to be surrounded by people that bring me up rather than bring me down. And I do understand why they're like that. But at that time, particularly, they were more advanced, and I was looking at them, and it was like a mirror of what's going to happen to me in the future. And I thought, this is not healthy, because it took me a long time to understand that there is no one size fits all, right? Don't look at me and Dave and think, right, he's 13 years in, he's 15 years in, I'm going to be like that. It doesn't work like that. Everybody has their own unique version of the condition, their own path, their own journey, their own acceptance cycle, their own reaction to treatment, their own rate of progression, their own mix of symptoms. It's a very, very unique condition. I'll just tell you another little anecdote very quickly. When I first got diagnosed, I didn't know anybody with Parkinson. The two people that I had in my mind, famous people anyway, were Michael J. Fox and Muhammad Ali. And I was doing that thing where, right, I saw Michael J. Fox, he's that many years in, I'm going to be like that. And I start to get the dyskinesia. Or I saw Muhammad Ali, I thought, right, he's quite stiff, I'm going to be like that in, I don't know, 5-10 years time, whatever it was, doing all these calculations. Because I wanted to know when, what am I going to be like? And actually, the clue was in the question that I was asking myself, because if you look at Michael J. Fox and Muhammad Ali, as he was, Michael J. Fox, he is that wriggly type of Parkinson's, a lot of dyskinesia, a lot of involuntary movement. You look at Muhammad Ali, almost the opposite, right? He's almost more like a stiff Parkie, isn't he? Stiff and slow. And they're very different. They present very differently, right? And that is the same condition that's presenting very differently in two people, two of the most famous people with Parkinson's, arguably. So actually, hindsight, is a wonderful thing with Parkinson's and looking back at symptoms. But one thing I would say to people, particularly if they're newly diagnosed, don't project too far in the future. If for no other reason than, your destiny and your path with Parkinson's is your own.
I was asked to write a few points to people about living well with Parkinson's. So I've just got a few things here that I wrote down. Just live in the now, try not to look too far into the future. Always have something in a diary that excites you. I think that's always important. Seeing a friend or looking forward to a phone call with someone or go to a concert or something, and you do that. I said, music makes you happy. Don't live in a silent house where you can brood. I like music on all the time. keep busy. Don't feel guilty about having a sofa day. It's all right. You can have a crap day. You're allowed a crap day, but just don't make a habit of it. Stay sociable. If your friends don't ring you, then arrange to see them on a regular basis. That's important. I saw this in a physio's when I was newly diagnosed. I saw this on a physio's wall. It said, "Get up, dress up, show up, never give up." And I think that's important. Kuhan knows I always have a shave. Try and wear a nice shirt every day.
You do.
Try and look smart.
Except today.
We've noted the shirt. Lovely.
This is tribute to Michael J. Fox because Michael J. Fox got a turtle tattoo on him, so I thought the turtle perfect.
In honour. Wonderful. Yeah.
I say don't more what you can't. Don't more what you can't do. Celebrate what you can. Say yes to invitations, even if you're feeling rubbish. Exercise makes you feel better. Even you can only manage a bit. Go walk around the corner shop. Do it. Stretch every morning. Eat well. Try not to skip meals, particularly when you're having your meds. Food is brain fuel. Hydrate. Water makes up 73% of the human brain. Neurotransmitters out by water. Everything. Talk to people with Parkinson's online. Really supportive community. Their experience can help your experience. Build a support team around you. Your chemist, your neurologist, all that sort of stuff. And only tell people you've got Parkinson's when you're ready, because if you tell them too soon, it can do your head in a bit. So those things I wrote down.
Lovely.
That's fantastic. I feel like you're kind of answering all our questions all at once. But Jane, do you think that we've got time, or is there some questions from the audience that we should try and get to?
Maybe we'll bring in some of the questions from the audience because there's plenty stacking up, and we've got an anonymous attendee who says they are a physiotherapist and wondered, have you spent time with a physiotherapist? You have mentioned this, and what did you find most beneficial? How can physios help you live well with Parkinson's? Now, remember,
be careful.
I know. We are big fans of physios. We've had more than one on the podcast, and for me, Parkinson's, it's a movement disorder, and there's no better specialist than a physio in the movement space, right? Often they're the ones that diagnose, often they're the ones that support you after your diagnosis, often they're the ones that know and understand about the day-to-day aspects of Parkinson's, and they're normally quite sort of can-do people, quite practical. And the episode we did with Laura from Neuro Heroes, we did 2 episodes. One was called Finding My Balance. Fantastic episode. We did a follow-up with her, a live event actually at the annual Parkinson's UK conference, Parkon, last October. And there's a video of this as well, where we spoke about more aspects about movement. I can't remember what we called that, but it was a very compelling listen and watch in that case, because she's got full of useful tips and got a lot of time for physios, particularly where we're having a debate about limited healthcare resources around the world, not just in our respective countries, right? I would much rather, if there's only a finite pot of money, to put it in, sorry to say, Jane, but people a little bit perhaps more like Michelle than yourself. Not because I don't think you're wonderful, and I do think we need loads more of Janes. But I think, if it comes to it, I think nurses and physios particularly are invaluable resources.
Thank you.
I get 15 minutes of a neurologist sleep every year. That's it, until recently, when I'm considering deep brain stimulation. But you get more time with your Parkinson's nurse and things. If you get that, they can help you in the little things. The neurologist can help you in the big things.
But sometimes the little things are the big things, aren't they, when it comes to Parkinson's?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, combination. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Well, I'm going to give you some rapid fire questions because they're coming in. They're coming in quick and fast now. We've got Michelle, who we know very well from Launceston in the north of Tasmania. She's an OT and asking, what advice would you give to someone who is struggling with motivation daily?
Well, I'll say this is the episode that we did with an OT recently, particularly around fatigue and apathy. I forget, Emma Brasher's an OT who actually practiced initially in Australia, came back to the UK. Her father was diagnosed, and it's a really great way to understand some of the challenges about motivation, about apathy, about fatigue, about anxiety. And for me, understanding it is you're halfway there, because you become more forgiving of yourself. It's not laziness. it's things like apathy and fatigue. You know, there is a reason why we feel this way, and I think understanding it goes a long way to actually helping with those really challenging symptoms, particularly when you feel like the outside world doesn't really understand those things.
I'd say write down that thing I said, get up, dress up, show up, never give up. Pin it on
Stick it on your
your
wall.
notice board. Yeah, and put your shoes near the door as well, so your trainers and things like that. So just little things. I'd say get up early in the morning, watch the sunrise. You know, if you get out in the fresh air, take the dog out, whatever, first thing in the morning, that morning light is beautiful. It sets you up for the day, you know. Enjoy every sunrise. That's what we got to do.
It's so easy to fester with this condition. I'm really guilty sometimes of I'll stay in my pajamas until midday, won't get ready until later in the day, and I'll just be slouched on the couch like many Parkies do, understandably so. Dave's quite good, you know, of all the talents he's got, he still gets up. He's always smartly groomed, smartly dressed, always willing to go out. You know, I'll ask him, I'll send him a message at some point in tennis, and normally he'll take a while to reply sometimes, you know, because of his symptoms. Using a phone is a lot more challenging than it used to be for Parkies. But he'll reply instantly, yeah, let's go, even if he's feeling off, and I'll see him sort of coming down in the distance towards the tennis score, and he's hunched over, and he's really slow and tremory, difficult to getting off his jumper and getting the tennis racket out of his bag. But when he's on the court, he comes alive, you know, and I feed off that energy. It's very infectious, and I love being around people like that. Yeah.
So you've got your UK following here. We've got Gaynor Edwards, sending love from Gaynor to you, chat. She says, from Spotlight YOPD. We had Gaynor on a recent webinar. She's just pointing out she's in Tasmania at the moment and rather disappointed that you didn't make the trip.
Oh dear.
So are we.
Yeah. You know,
well done for her for travelling halfway across the country, right? I think she's similar number of years with the condition as us. Yeah, that's quite remarkable. I think travelling is
28, 30 years in, yeah.
Yeah, we're pretty sure she came to Tasmania for our webinar, but anyway, a question for you really, Michelle. Dawn is also asking from the UK, do we have a particular younger onset Parkinson's group for people in Tasmania? That's something we've thought about, isn't it? And we really want to set up.
Yeah, I think it's really needed, and there is a few of us that catch up, and if she's interested, then I think, yeah, reach out, and very happy to introduce her to a few people.
Sheena's just chipping in to say you need to try pickleball, Kuhan and Dave.
Yeah, tennis, give that a miss.
I am trying.
Don't get me started.
Pickleball next Monday for the first time, actually.
Oh, how exciting.
I think we've got some members of the community trying to get me and Dave into paddleball, but Dave turns his nose up a little bit at paddleball, don't you, Dave?
I'm not a big fan of paddle. No, I prefer tennis. I won't say what I call paddle.
The real thing.
Bringing up pickleball with 1 minute to go.
We've got a lovely question here. So this is from a physio student, and they're asking, I was just wondering, was there a certain stage in your diagnosis where you felt comfortable being around others with your condition? Because this student's thinking about setting up a group in the future, but now feeling a bit worried they might do it too early and make people feel uncomfortable. That's a good practical question, isn't it?
That's a very good question, yeah. I think it's different. It depends on the individual, I'd say. I told you about our experience early on where we immersed ourselves in this community group, local group, and not only was it not for us, I think it probably sent us in the wrong direction, became even more isolated. So there is that danger. I think if you're open and welcoming and not applying too much pressure for attendance, then I think just offer it out. That's all we can do, right? That's hold out that hand.
Set it up around a purpose as well. Whether it going bowling or something like that, or
or a walk,
or a walk or whatever. Just don't go sit in a church hall and stare at each other in the face. You need an event, something to do. Go play pool together or something like that. Anything. Just an event rather than sitting in a church hall. No. Don't do that. But yeah, don't let's put you off setting up a group. Great, go ahead, do a group, and do an exercise class around or something. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Use your
We've got
physio skills.
I think we'll just run on for a couple more minutes. We did start late, so we'll finish a little bit late. Question: are you going to the World Parkinson's Congress? Because everybody wants to meet you.
No, actually, somewhat related to the last answer. When did you feel comfortable being around Parkies? I'm still not, to be honest with you. I find it really challenging. I'm still self-conscious about my symptoms this many years in. But I always, Dave always asks when I say this, but I'm actually not normally quite a private person. Don't like sharing too much. I don't like people. I say no. Sorry, that sounds a bit harsh. I love people, but I'm quite self-conscious as well, and I try to do things on my own terms, and that's why I think doing the podcast works quite well. It's quite overwhelming as well to be in a room full of Parkies, a large room of Parkies. If you haven't been, really is. I mean, I've spoken to many people that have gone to those sorts of events, big conferences that come back and said, "Oh, that was just too much for me." It's quite overwhelming. Plus, we're in our second decade with Parkinson's, right? Traveling halfway across the world is quite a challenge for us. So, and I know it might not appear it, but Parkinson's a lot more than you can see, and it takes its toll. And I try to sort of limit my efforts, or try to just focus my time and attention and energy, what I have left of it, on things that are a little bit more accessible, let's say.
I use the expression, I'm all parkied out. When I've done too much for Parkinson's in a week and talked too much about Parkinson's, I'm all parkied out. I don't want to chat about it now. We'll talk about football or something, do that. But yeah, we went to Parkon. We're both really exhausted after a day, because we did our hour-long Q&A.
Yeah, 1,100 people that day, right, Dave? That was nuts.
Yeah. And afterwards, we both absolutely knackered, and we had to carry on going for another 48 hours. So that's quite hard. But no excuses really. We should go
great.
1 year, shouldn't we?
Yeah,
really good,
yeah. I think if the next conference, I don't know where it is. I don't know if it's been announced, but maybe if it was maybe more towards your side of the world, I'd be more inclined.
It was in Ballon, yeah, southwest London. We go.
No, I was thinking somewhere sunnier. I'm looking at Jane's background on her.
Yeah, exactly.
On her screen, and I'd like a bit of that sun.
Yeah.
Somewhere there's some nice turtles like on the shirt, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, I don't know what to say, Dave and Kuhan. You are just wonderful guests. We've absolutely loved having you on the Tasmania Parkinson's Project webinar, and I love this joining of the North and South hemispheres. And I hope you my social media post, it had that double meaning of the hemisphere brain. So
wonderful. Yeah, love it.
We'll have to do it again. And as Michelle said, we've got far too many questions, so we'll have to do part 2 of this, I think.
Absolutely.
In this disconnected world, it's lovely to do this, isn't it? Crossing borders and barriers, amazing. When everything's going wrong in the world, this is a great force for good. So thanks for inviting us, Jane and Michelle. Really enjoyed it too.
Yeah, likewise.
We've really enjoyed it too, and we're going to, as we always do, we always let our guests have the parting words. So we're putting you on the spot now for some wise parting words to our attendees before we wrap up. But before you do that, Michelle, any last words from you?
Only thank you so much for your wise words, and really enjoy your podcast. And I will be writing notes now so that next time I will get 100%.
Go on, Dave, some parting words.
Okay, I'd say there's a great book called The Little Big Things by a guy called Henry Fraser, who went to my kids' school. And he had a terrible accident. He died into a wave when he was 17, broke his neck, and he's rebuilt his life. He learned to paint with his mouth. Incredible. If you're looking you're feeling a bit flat, looking for a bit of inspiration, The Little Big Things by Henry Fraser. Great book. It's only a little thin book. Amazing guy, and I know him quite well. And it's just absolute gold mine of information. You just enjoy every sunrise, all that sort of stuff is in there. But don't mourn what you can't do. Celebrate what you can, and just keep fighting the fight. Don't give up. Keep fighting.
Yeah, I'd say something similar. Don't dwell on the things that you can't do anymore. Just take comfort for the things that you can do. I mean, this condition it wears us down. It's like a weight that sort of lives with us, on us. But be forgiving of yourself, be kind, be supportive of others, and just not sure how to end that. Looking for some poetic words, but just be yourself, be happy, stay safe, stay healthy if you can, and reach out to us and listen to every single episode of Two Parkinson Pod, all 60, including the episode 61 that's coming out this Saturday on the Pro Duodopa pump. And we'll have a few shenanigans and some mystery guests on that episode as well. So stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, listen to all the episodes. They're all very relevant, and reach out to us as well. We'd love to hear from you.
Kuhan and Dave, thank you
you.
so much. Thank you. We've really enjoyed having you on our webinar, and we hope to do it again. And thank you, everybody, for joining this evening or this morning, wherever you are. We look forward to seeing you again. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.